As you should probably be aware from the video name, this video will contain spoilers for Act 5 of the Fontaine Archon Quest, Masquerade of the Guilty. If you didn't catch on to that from the title, well, here it is now. But in any case, let's get started. So first off, what exactly was Egeria's sin, and why did the Fontainians dissolve? If you've played through the quest at all, you probably know this already, but let's just recap real quick. Egeria made her Oceanid subjects into humans by injecting primordial seawater into their veins, which is why Fontainians dissolve when they come in contact with the primordial sea. This was considered a sin, which was also passed down to all Fontainians, and the heavens punished Egeria with the prophecy about everyone dissolving. However, Egeria had basically zero plan for solving this and left it all to her successor, Focalors. So, next, why in the world did Focalors split herself from Furina? This has a couple of reasons, but essentially she had to split herself from Furina in order to trick the heavenly principles. Focalors split herself into her divinity, Focalors, which resided inside of the Oratrice, and her humanity, Furina, which had zero memories and zero powers. Then Focalors created the Oratrice for two purposes: one, to sentence the Hydro Archon, and two, to collect Indemnitium. 500 years of Indemnitium's power was used to destroy the divine throne of the Hydro Archon, with the goal of returning the authority of Hydro back to Neuvillette, who Focalors had brought to Fontaine 500 years earlier in order to endear humanity to him. How did Neuvillette save Fontaine? Well, after regaining his power, Neuvillette was able to transform Fontainians into true humans using the same power of the primordial sea as was originally used to create life. Why didn't Focalors do it? Well, she couldn't. We don't have specifics on why, but clearly, the Hydro Archon was missing some portion of the power that only Neuvillette had access to, or Egeria would have just made the Oceanids into real humans to begin with. Why was this key to preventing the prophecy? Well, the important bit was that fate believed the prophecy had been fulfilled, because Furina was viewed by everyone, including the heavenly principles, as the Hydro Archon. This was also because of the curse of immortality that Focalors placed on Furina, which had two purposes. One, to keep Furina alive long enough for the prophecy to come true, since, as you see, it took 500 years for Furina to actually get to the point of the plan being fulfilled. But two, they had to make it seem like Furina had the aura of an actual Archon, since as we see with Neuvillette, even Neuvillette thought that Furina was the actual Archon because of the curse. When the waters rose, Furina genuinely believed everyone had been dissolved, fulfilling the final part of the prophecy, the Hydro Archon crying alone on her throne. This is the reason that Focalors had to split herself into two beings. The Hydro Archon had to die in order to give Neuvillette back his power before the Fontainians were dissolved, but the Hydro Archon alone on her throne came after their dissolution, and she had to be alone and crying and genuinely think that everyone was dead in order to fulfill the prophecy. Furina also didn't get to have any powers because of this, since otherwise she would have, ended up dead if she'd held any of the Hydro Archon's divinity. How did Fontaine flood? No idea. Teyvat has its own laws. Don't ask too many questions. It was magic. The real question here isn't so much how did Fontaine flood, as it is how did Fontaine flood without everything else also flooding, since Fontaine is on, an elevated continental plate. But we're just not going to touch that. We're also not going to touch how did people like the babies and the elderly and anybody who couldn't swim survive, because we see, vision bearers diving into the water to rescue people, but they couldn't have rescued everyone in the 3 minutes before people tend to drown. But I guess Hoyoverse didn't really want to deal with that, which is fair. In any case, what happened to the throne of the Hydro Archon? Well, it no longer exists. Focalors didn't just kill the Hydro Archon, she destroyed the divine throne of the Hydro Archon, which contained the authority of Hydro. So unless Celestia steals the authority back from Neuvillette, they can no longer have a Hydro Archon. To be clear, Neuvillette isn't the Archon, he's a dragon sovereign. No more Archons. So, the Gnosis, it turns out, are actually made from the corpse of the third descender, and don't contain the sovereign's authority, the divine thrones do. Rather, the Gnosis seem to serve as amplifiers for elemental power, which is compared to how the Traveler can access all of the elements. Since Arlecchino still wants the Gnosis, despite it not containing the authority of Hydro, it seems like the Fatui want the Gnosis for a reason, either related to their source from the third descender, their role in helping the Primordial One and the Heavenly Principles maintain control over the world, or both. Or maybe she didn't realize, the authority isn't actually kept in the Gnosis, but I'm guessing the Tsaritsa would know. Or, maybe there's some other third reason that the Fatui want the Gnosis, but this is what we're going off of right now. The one who revealed to us that the Gnosis were made from the corpse of the third descender is Skirk. So Skirk is Tartaglia's master, and her own master is somebody named Sertologi, who the whale was the pet of. To be clear, Sertologi is not Rheindotter, but Skirk does compare the two. Skirk then vanishes, but not before revealing, the said info about the Gnosis. The whale was the cause of the flooding of the primordial sea. The real question here, though, is that how in the world did fate control the whale, since it still played a role in fulfilling the prophecy? And as evidenced by Scaramucci's Irminsul editing in Inversion of Genesis, fate doesn't care too much about the process we take to get to an end result, but they do care about, what does happen in the end. If the whale hadn't been the cause of the flood, it would have been something else. But mild spoilers for In the Wake of Narcissus, the finale of the Narcissus Cruz Ordo questline. But it is revealed to us that Renee predicted the whale as far as 500 years back, which means that even at that point, Fate had already planned out, hey, we're going to use this whale that's not even from Teyvat in order to fulfill the prophecy, which is also potentially related to, again, Narcissus Cruz spoilers, the fact that there are more requirements to be a descender than simply coming from beyond Teyvat. So it's possible that Fate was able to control the whale. Finally, we wrap up the quest by finding about Natlan, but there's not really much to explain there because it's pretty simple, and, they give us, here, get you interested in Natlan, dragons, Capitano, war, but not really much to go off of there. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like or subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, whether it's about the Fontaine Archon Quest or something else entirely. Have a good day.